I'm not usually the type of person who gets overly hyped about reveals. When new Smash Ult characters were revealed, I was kind of excited, but I wasn't going insane. When big DLC for games that I play is revealed, I get excited, sure, but it's more of a, oh that's cool, and then I forget about it until it releases. Heck, even when new full games that look pretty interesting get revealed, I usually don't hop onto the hype train immediately. I like to really spend time looking into things that gather hype in gaming, and get a feel for whether or not it's something I should really be hyped for. So often, with these kind of reveals, whether it be new Ultimate characters, DLC, games, whatever, I'll take a slow approach, you know, calmly.
And now it's time to meet the first of 2 new playable characters in the expansion, the Railgunner.
Yo, Sniper? Sniper? This is not the case. Railgunner broke me. Mentally, physically, spiritually. And I am now a full-on Railgunner main. I'm sorry, Loader, but this is just ridiculous. For those who don't know, the Dev Thoughts 25 video was released just a bit ago, and what came with it was oh so amazing. A large premise of the Dev Thoughts was revealing one of the 2 new characters being added to Risk of Rain 2 in the Survivors of the Void DLC, along with some more info about the DLC itself, such as its release date, unfortunately just for PC, and some more updates on new items, a reveal of the new map, void items, etc. If you'd like to learn more about new aspects of the DLC, like the new map and items and stuff, I recommend checking out the Dev Thoughts video itself, which will be linked in the description. But in this video, we aren't talking about that boring stuff. We are focusing on one unit. One absolute monster of a survivor. One massive damage dealer, one 360 quickscoper, the Railgunner. And my gosh, is she just, chef's kiss. In essence, Railgunner is the spiritual successor to Sniper from Risk of Rain 1, sharing many of Sniper's mechanics along with her own unique abilities. In terms of Risk of Rain 2, think Artificer, Bandit, kinda Huntress on steroids. Her entire spiel is doing big number damage from a safe distance, and much of her kit, like burst damage dealers such as Artificer, is large singular bursts of damage, albeit this time focusing primarily on single target damage. And by the way, by big number damage, I mean big number damage. Let's look at her primary, shall we? Railgunner's primary weapon is the M99 Sniper. This massive railgun has an equally massive scope, and fires for, you're hearing me correctly, 1000% base damage per shot. And, added onto that, as is the case with Sniper in Risk of Rain 1, Railgunner has an active reload bar that triggers after every shot of the M99. If you time the reload correctly, you're granted a faster refire and an extra 500% damage bonus to your next primary fire shot. And, added onto that, aiming down the scope of the M99 reveals the weak points of enemies, which, when shots, will always crit. And again, added onto that, her passive ability turns all crit chance increasing items into crit damage increasing items. So, with all that combined, you can get absolutely illegal amounts of damage from a single shot of a railgun, easily placing it comparatively close to big damage dealer abilities like Artificer's Nanobomb and even Loader's Gauntlet. Now, the drawback here is that the Railgunner can't randomly crit, she only crits when hitting weak points. But like, is that really worse than practically guaranteed crit on all shots if you can aim? I think not. I mean, with everything taken into account, I'm pretty sure she has the highest single shot base damage primary in the game thus far. I don't know about you, but I would happily trade that for no random crit. Now, you'd think that her single target primary and long reload time, about 2 seconds with a correctly timed reload, would make her very vulnerable to large groups of enemies at a close range. However, this is where her secondary comes in, the the XQR Smart Round System. This secondary fires freaking tracking missiles for 100% damage per hit. Tracking missiles. While this damage may seem kind of underwhelming compared to her primary fire, the fire rates seem pretty decent from what I saw of the demo gameplay and the dev thoughts, and the shots automatically track. So if you're in a pinch with a large group of enemies, you can just fire that thing away and watch the fireworks. It's a great way to balance her massive single target burst damage, as it provides an easy way to weaken large groups of enemies to be shot by your primary, or just straight up kill them with the secondary itself. Its damage is decently high, and considering it's also decent fire rate, it seems pretty good for proccing items too. So, while its damage is not near as much as her primary and the range is a bit low, it's definitely still a good option to pack a lot of multi-target damage at a close range. But Frosif, you may say, what if some big elite enemy hordes advance too close to you and you can't blast them away with the primary or secondary? Well, my friend, the answer is simple. Bombs. She has bombs. Concussive bombs. Yep, That's right, Railgunner's utility is in fact the NFL, or a concussive device. This ability plants little concussive mines that blow everything including you away once detonated. This has several uses. One, as a way to break up or push away enemy groups of enemies to snipe or smart round. And two, it also works as a mobility tool, as the explosion also pushes you away, which you can use to move quickly to a new position, which of course is great since you're a sniper and distance and vantage points are key to your overall kit. I think it's just about necessary for Risk of Rain 2 characters to have some decent mobility. And the fact that this utility gives you both horizontal and vertical mobility and blows enemies away and is a freaking concussive bomb makes it pretty dang cool as much as it is versatile. As we've seen, all of Railgunner's abilities are pretty impressive, from the giant railgun to homing missiles to concussive bombs, but that's not even the best part of her kit. No, the Hoppo game devs weren't stopping at a measly 1000% damage per shot or 100% damage homing missiles. They went even bigger. And quite possibly the best part of Railgunner's entire kit and probably one of the best abilities in the whole frickin' game, her special, the Supercharge. Yeah, it's alright. Yep, Railgunner's special literally just turns her railgun to boss killer mode and shoots a single heavily amped up piercing shot that deals, well, you know, with an extra 150% damage added on if hitting the weak spot of an enemy, and it has a 15-second cooldown. This absolutely just sold Railgunner for me. I mean, you just get a nuke that is shootable with a 15-second cooldown. Granted, it does have the added drawback of disabling all railgun weapons for 5 seconds after use, but like, is that even that considerable when you get a giant, wide-piercing, literal railgun shot that can take out multiple mobs and one-shot bosses? I think not. Again. And you keep your concussive device in the 5-second cooldown of your railgun, so you can just use that while your railgun recharges to blast off to safety if enemies start encroaching. Assuming they actually survive the nuke, that is. Gosh, the meme potential alone with this is just ridiculous. This special really helps boost both her overall kit and gives her additional AoE and multi-target potential. Now, if you're really feeling overwhelmed by a large group of enclosing enemies, you can just legit nuke them, then concussive bomb away from the carnage. This heavily rounds out her massive downside of focusing mainly on single target damage, as while it's not a completely perfect solution due to the cooldown, the nuke is a very effective way to add some questionably balanced AoE and multi-target damage to your kit, which she can definitely use more of. Now, to be entirely fair, after singing my praises for Railgunner for several minutes, I do think that when she is actually released, I might not think she is as overpowered as I do now. While I was watching the first stage of gameplay they gave with the Railgunner in the Dev Thoughts video, I noticed that she is very single target focused, and compared to many other survivors, she has a very slow main primary that heavily relies on the player's aim. She also relies on being at a considerable distance from her enemies in order to work effectively, because since she specializes in single target damage, she can't get overwhelmed if enemies encroach too much. Also, the zoom of the M99 is pretty hefty, which is great for shooting faraway targets, but not great for anything close up. And, while her homing missiles do help her deal with closer and larger groups of enemies, they're not really that strong compared to her primary, and I think they are more meant as a support to her primary rather than an alternative. This could end up landing Railgunner in some sticky situations if you get totally overwhelmed by stronger enemies to the point that your secondary doesn't clear them out fast enough for you to move out of the way. The concussive grenades will definitely help with this, but considering their cooldown and the limited distance they can launch enemies, which can even be towards you if they are in front of the concussive mine, they aren't really a foolproof option. Now, this will probably be the situation you use your supercharge in, and it seems like it will be a great, okay, this is getting out of hand, time for everything to die move, but it does have that added consequence of disabling your railgun for 5 seconds and has a 15-second cooldown. Which, while still very short in my opinion, is still more than enough time for you to be burned to death by a Blaze Elder Lumerian. So, you have to really be sure that your supercharged shot counts, as if it doesn't clear out enough enemies, you could get really stuck without your railgun or supercharge to assist you with just your concussive grenades. But, with all that considered, Railgunner still seems like such an awesome fun survivor, and I'm super amazed at what a great survivor Hoppo Games made. Her design is this awesome mix of nostalgia of Risk of Rain 1 combined with her own unique aspects in Risk of Rain 2. It's a best of both worlds scenario. On the one hand, she is the spiritual successor to Sniper, a very wanted character in Risk of Rain 2 for a while now. But, on the other hand, she has enough unique aspects about her that she feels like a new character, which lots more people have wanted for Risk of Rain 2. She's a perfect combo of nostalgic Risk of Rain 1 Sniper, along with new mechanics and abilities that suit the differing style of Risk of Rain 2. Just hats off to the devs on this survivor, she has absolutely broken me, and I can definitely, surely say that I am hyped. And this is only one of the 2 new survivors being added in the DLC, and we haven't even seen her ult abilities, and nah, I want the DLC now! But I must ask you, my dear friends, what do you think of the Railgunner? Are you as excited as I am? Am I overhyping the survivor? And what are your thoughts on the overall news of the DLC from the Dev Thoughts video? Please let me know in the comments, and also, if you haven't yet, be sure to check out the Dev Thoughts 25 video, which will be linked in the description for more info about overall updates in regards to the Survivors of the Void DLC if you're interested. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go practice some 360 quickscopes in CSGO in anticipation of Railgunner. But for now, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.